All right, so I made it home to my swamp after being gone at TwitchCon for about 4 days or so. I went to all 3 days of the event. I had a meet and greet, and there's been some talking points primarily on Twitter, the artist formerly known as Twitter, now X, but also people are just kind of talking about at Jimro, everything from security because of the assault that happened at Imru, all the way to Irl Streamers being obnoxious, and just kind of the TwitchCon event in general. So let's kind of break down my experience at TwitchCon, my thoughts on the matter, and sort of review it for the people that weren't there, maybe aren't up to date on the conversation. So primarily, just to give a quick explanation for the people that don't know, TwitchCon is just a convention for Twitch streamers to go to. Typically, there's games there, there's stuff for sale, and there's events that happen. Now, this one was no different. It was in San Diego. It was the second San Diego TwitchCon I've gone to, and my third TwitchCon in particular. I went to San Diego 2022. I went to Vegas 23. I missed last year's, and then this is San Diego 25. So it's the second San Diego for me. Now, the first thing I noticed is I went to all 3 days, like I said, and Friday morning I was there. It didn't seem like there was that many people at the event, but that's kind of pretty typical for bright and early the first day. Saturday, the second day, there was quite a lot of people. I mean, it was very, very packed. I was actually surprised considering the first day. I thought like, oh man, this is kind of a dying convention. There's not a lot of people here. But then the second day arose, and it was pretty crazy packed, to be honest with you. Third day, a lot more dead once again. So it does seem like primarily the quantity of people that show up are primarily on that Saturday. Now the booths themselves, just kind of go over that real quick before we address like the elephants in the room and the main talking points you're going to see. The booths, I felt like, though I've seen people have opposite opinions. People were saying there's a lot of gaming booths. I didn't really feel that way. I felt like there was just a few I can remember. There was Solo Leveling, PUBG, Arc Raiders. Can't really remember too many others, to be honest with you, off the top of my head. There was some games going on, like there was an arcade and there's some other like games going on and related to prizes, etc. But in terms of like games actually out there being advertised, there was Phasmophobia, also in Resident Evil. There are some other ones I remember. Okay, so there's 5 that I can remember. It didn't feel like that many. So if you're going to it, it didn't really feel as much like a game being advertised convention as almost just like a fair or a pop-up convention that also had games show up. Like there was more things being sold and vendors and, food and shit, it felt like, than particularly games themselves. And that was the first thing I noticed. That being said, I did go to some of the gaming events. Like I went to the Rivals event because I really wanted to watch Scar compete in Street Fighter. I'm a big Scar fan, so I watched that, and that was very enjoyable. He won his match. And so there was games related events to actually do, and I did engage with some of the gaming booths, and they were fun enough. So in terms of like, before we get into the major talking points, like in terms of like the convention itself, it didn't feel as good as like the Vegas one to me. It felt like, and I talked to everybody that I ran into. I kind of asked them the same question, like, what do you think of the convention? Just kind of like, I didn't preload it with, do you hate it? Or anything, just kind of like, what do you think of the convention? Most people are like, it's all right. That's kind of the response that I got from like 99% of people. So the vibe seems pretty much the same. TwitchCon, you really only go to these things if you are trying to interact with other people, do meet and greets. For instance, I actually had one of these Twitch meet and greets. And when we talk about meet and greets, this is a sign that they put up there, whatever, for the meet and greets. When we talk about the meet and greets, that's when we talked about the elephant in the room. And so I suppose we should talk about that now. The meet and greet that happened, there was one where Imru was basically assaulted live in front of a giant crowd. Okay, so here's what basically happened. This is going to be the clip you're going to have seen everywhere. A guy walked past basically everybody here, just walked right up, grabs her with a hug, and then tries to force a kiss on her. And this is like obviously incredibly inappropriate. And you can see the security response here. He just shoves him away, and then he does like this whipping motion. People think he posed out a weapon or something. It could have also been like a pin. He's trying to get signature or something. But yeah, this is like fucking wild, okay? Like it's beyond inappropriate to the point of like, that's just like blatantly assault, right? Like the dude should have repercussions as opposed to this. So what were the repercussions that actually happened? Well, the repercussions that happened was 30-day ban on the platform. On the online platform, and not allowed back in the convention, though he walked freely away from the convention. And then when people complained that it was a 30-day ban, and by people, I believe it was Imru's manager, though I could be getting this part wrong, he was now indefinitely banned off the Twitch online platform. So you can assault one of the largest streamers on the entire platform in front of everybody, live on camera, and get banned from the platform online. So obviously, this was like a major talking point. And since I had my own meet and greet, what was security like? Well, I had mine the day after all of this had arose. And if you see the security that was there, it was basically, she has one of her own security people, and there's not really a lot of other security from Twitch around there. When I had my meet and greet, I had 3 security guards, which is hilarious because there's like 5 people that are even interested in meeting me. There's like 3 security guards in the front and 1 behind where my girlfriend was standing to make sure somebody isn't coming through the back of the curtain. So obviously they had upped the security at the time. The fact that one of the largest streamers on the platform does not have more security around there is absolutely insane to me. And there's more to the story, but this whole video is more about TwitchCon in general. So if you're more interested in diving down into this story in particular and what happened, this has been covered by about 1 billion people, and you're welcome to go down that rabbit hole. There's the whole part about she was contractually obligated to do the meet and greet, or her event would be canceled, so that makes her uncomfortable. And then there's the fact that they banned her security, that her preferred security guard, because he actually did his job and was like holding somebody back last time, and they didn't like that. So there's a whole bunch of like rabbit trails you could go down about this, but basically this is like the major thing that happened at the event, and it's just like absolutely wild that this was allowed to happen. Okay, so that's kind of the elephant in the room. And then there's the other talking point that you're going to see, and one that I have mixed feelings on, which is there's a large conversation going around, again, particularly on the artist formerly known as Twitter, talking about the IRL streamers being a mega problem. Now, I have 2 thoughts on this. I've seen a lot of people calling for a particular full-on ban of IRL streaming at TwitchCon. You just can't stream there. For me, that seems a little like far gone. You're at a streaming convention. People are streaming. I don't really have a problem with people walking around and streaming, but I will say this much, that there is a very obvious shift away from the convention to what I would call like classic YouTube prankster style streaming, in which people were basically monetized based upon how annoying and loud they can be, because if you draw attention to yourself, I mean, you have nothing to lose if people don't know who you are. So if you go out there with a camera and harass every big streamer as much as you possibly can, eventually you're going to get some attention pulled to yourself. And I did hear a lot of screaming on there. There's people literally just jumping up and down, just, screaming, "You're my biggest fan, I'm your biggest fan," like in the middle of nowhere, just kind of jumping up and down, screaming. There was people screaming like, "Kai Cenat's in my stream," like just, being kind of annoying. And that is the part for me where it's like, okay, guys, like, come on. That part is particularly annoying. There's also a large amount of upgrade in quality and quantity of streamers, because you can basically do a stream from your phone nowadays. Pretty much, I mean, I would say like half of the people walking around had, their phone out and it's recording the whole time. So it does feel very Black Mirror-ish, where you're walking around and like you're engaging in a place where you're supposed to go and meet the people. But basically, because it's a convention, most people that are there that are streamers are going to stream it because of this content. So the convention goes from convention to content. So it's Twitch content instead of Twitch convention. Like that's sort of the feeling that it starts to arrive at. That's sort of the end game of the convention. So I couldn't help but feel like a large quantity of the people I was seeing were there purely for content, as opposed to, enjoying the convention. Fair enough. It's a live streaming platform. That's just the feeling I got. Whether or not you think that's, something that matters to you is up to you and your own opinion. But that is the vibe I got. Also, there's a huge increase in the number of people walking around with like entourages. I'm talking like 10 people deep that would just walk down the middle of the aisle and not give a fuck. And you're just required to move out of their way because they have a camera, a light, and 10 viewers. And so that part was also pretty annoying, not gonna lie. So that's kind of the vibe that I had on TwitchCon in particular. I do want to say some positives, which is when you're not at the convention, ironically enough, it's pretty fun because there's a lot of like meetups actually happening. You have there was like the Mythic party that was off the convention for, the Mythic agency. And that was a lot of fun. I got to see some people there and, very briefly bug Scar for 30 seconds to say hi to him because I'm just a mega fan and stuff like that. So you get to run into people that you notice and I got a chance to talk to a whole bunch of people, and that was great. I got to meet Stinkrat, and Stinkrat's just like the nicest guy ever. So I was geeking out a little bit, as a fan of some of these other fellow streamers I'm sure you're fans of as well. So stuff like that's pretty cool. Now the highlight of the entire event, okay, and I'm talking like easily my favorite thing that happened, other than obviously running into my partner Ghazi for the Tavern Talk, and we spent most of the convention walking around together. Shout out to Ghazi. And we tried to do a Tavern Talk, but just the internet connection didn't work and all that. And it is what it is. We'll try to make it better if we decide to go next time. But besides seeing my friends, there was a RuneScape invite party that happened that I randomly got a DM from one of the mods of Old School RuneScape. They were like, hey, we're testing out sailing. We'd like you to come by and play sailing early. And while you're here, we have a bit of a RuneScape meetup and party. So I was like, oh shit, I'm getting invited to some RuneScape stuff. Now, for the people that don't know, RuneScape is easily my top one game of all time. I play it every day on live stream on the second monitor. I have multiple accounts. I've played the game since like 01, 02-ish. And I've, I got like a scythe, on my main account. If you're going to go R3 or something, like I've played the game, a long time. And I'm a huge fan of the game. It is easily the game I would recommend the most to anybody that asks. So when I got the invite, I was both surprised as well as excited. And so excelling is, that's a whole nother topic. I'll be honest, selling is a very interesting skill coming to Old School RuneScape. But I did get a chance to meet some people that I've been, again, a big fan of and watched for a long time. Like just quick, bother Bodhi for 5 seconds to say hi to him. Ran into some other YouTube, people that, run various Old School RuneScape accounts. Got to see Hyphonics, shout him out too, because he's a super nice guy in person. And, I watched him since I was a kid and stuff. So that was very, very enjoyable. And then getting a chance to talk to the mods, the run the game was just a very pleasant surprise and an easy 10 out of 10 experience. And that is, it was one of those moments where I'm like, I'm very thankful for the job I have to even get to like meet some of these people. So big fan of that. And that was definitely made the trip worth going as well. So if you're wondering about TwitchCon, that's just sort of my thoughts and feelings on the event itself. If you're interested more in like, kind of the bigger talking points that happened during there, the assault or, with IRL streamers, just either go on X or you can look up some videos. People are covering it relentlessly in many videos in a row on their channel. So I'm sure there's no lack of content there. But that's just kind of, if you want my context from my experience and for someone who had a meet and greet, as well as my time at TwitchCon, there it is, boys. So that's about it. Love you all. Thanks for watching. I'm going live now, so see you on the live.